House Republicans reveal new details that implicate the Biden crime family in receiving over $10 million in foreign money, funneled through a network of LLCs and other entities to cover up the transactions and the influence that the money purchased. We've got several items to review. One is the press conference that was done in person in Congress. We'll go through that and listen to that. We also have the press release that came out from James Comer, as well as a memo that details in over 30 pages the facts of exactly what happened here. And so before we watch some of the proceedings, let's jump into the actual press release. Published May 10th, Comer reveals new evidence in the Biden family's influence peddling schemes, saying that the House Oversight and Accountability Committee chairman released the bank records memorandum, which we will go through in more detail, that reveals new information about the investigation into the Biden family schemes. Oversight has got thousands of pages of financial records showing a complicated network of companies set up when Joe Biden was vice president. And the Biden family got millions from foreign sources. We've also got financial records showing how the Bidens use complicated transactions to hide payments from the foreign nationals, including the Chinese Communist Party linked associates, providing clear indications of influence peddling when he was vice president. Vice president. He was in office when all of this was happening. And so we have the press release that came out from Congress. They were together. Here is what it sounded like from the Oversight Committee.
Since taking the gavel in January, the Committee on Oversight and Accountability has accelerated its investigation of the Biden family's domestic and international business practices that we began last Congress. I want to be clear. This committee is investigating President Biden and his family's shady business deals that capitalize on Joe Biden's public office and risked our country's national security. This committee has a duty to ask questions and pursue the facts, no matter where they take us. Through the committee's investigation, we intend to provide transparency to the American people and reach legislative solutions. In only 4 months since obtaining subpoena authority, we have made astonishing progress. Today, we'll talk about that progress.
Good,
First,
let's go.
We want to discuss information the committee has learned since our last press conference in November. New information investigators have uncovered regarding the transfer of money from foreign entities to the Biden family. Many of the wire payments occurred while Joe Biden was vice president and leading the United States efforts in these countries. First instance, while Vice President Biden was lecturing Romania on anti-corruption policies, in reality he was a walking billboard for his son and family to collect money. Hunter Biden and his associates capitalized on a lucrative financial relationship with the Romanian national who was under investigation for and later convicted of corruption in Romania. The Bidens received over $1 million for the deal.
Nice.
And 16 of the 17 payments to their associates' account that funneled the Biden's money occurred while Joe Biden was vice president.
Perfect. Good.
In fact, the money stops flowing from the Romanian national soon after Joe Biden leaves the vice presidency.
We saw that same pattern with Hillary Clinton. Remember the Clinton Foundation, how much money they were getting when Hillary was running? We saw the numbers. It was like hundreds of millions of dollars. You go, what the heck? Where is that money going? And then suddenly after she lost, what they get like the next year was like $7 million. And the year prior was like 200 million because they thought she was going to win. Isn't it funny how that works?
This is a pattern of influence peddling. This appears separate from any payment Hunter received from his work connecting this individual to a U.S. law firm. We'll also provide further information regarding the Biden's relationship with China. This includes 2 individuals the committee is particularly concerned about. One of them, Xi Jinping, had close ties to the highest levels of the Chinese Communist Party and operated a multi-billion-dollar energy company with access to large sums of money. We'll discuss how the Bidens received millions of dollars from this individual through the use of shell companies and wire transfer. In March, the committee released its first bank records memorandum that showed a Biden associate, Rob Walker, used his company to funnel money from the Chinese to various Biden family members.
Bagman.
Democrats dismissed the evidence, even though it was based on bank records directly from the bank. The Democrats
They only care about George Santos and his bank records and monitoring his transactions across state lines. We have a video coming out on George Santos later tonight or first thing tomorrow morning. But there is a very interesting thing that has happened today while the House committee is unveiling these charges, we know that the Democrats and the DOJ have pulled this card out they've been keeping behind their backs for some time, and they just say, oh, Santos, perfect. Soon as Biden is getting his nose rubbed in it, we're going to distract the entire media and show you something else and take the eye off this ball. And so the Republicans are now having to work against a media in addition to having to convince the DOJ. There's a cover story that's being run essentially by the DOJ to take the eye off the main prize here.
On the Oversight Committee received the same records as the Republicans, and they were able to verify the information. Democrats said all the bank records showed were Papa John's and Starbucks receipts. They deliberately chose to misconstrue and deny what was clearly in front of them. Hunter Biden's representatives claimed the money was, quote, good faith seed funds. But could not explain why those funds had to go through an intermediary in what appears to be an attempt to hide the transfers from the Chinese. They also couldn't explain why the Bidens received over $1 million in 16 different wire transfers.
That's a lot of pizza.
Over a period of 3 months to at least 5 different banks.
That's a lot of little
The president,
small
when
items.
confronted with this information, said it wasn't true. Instead of being honest with the American people, President Biden has claimed since the 2020 election that his family has not received money from China. That was a lie in 2020, and he continues to lie to the American people now. The Bidens have received millions of dollars from China. It is inconceivable that the president...
What is their business? What is the business that they are sending invoices on behalf of in order to get that money?
Did not know it. The White House refuses to correct the president's statements, showing the president is now using the federal government to run interference for his families and his own role in these schemes. Now I want to say a few remarks about the developments last week. A week ago, I sent a subpoena to the FBI for a form that a whistleblower has alleged is in the FBI's possession. We hope the FBI will be transparent and forthcoming and provide the Oversight Committee with the 1023 form we have subpoenaed. If they do, the committee will assess the form it has subpoenaed from the FBI, and has been my practice. We will report to you only facts when they are verified and indisputable.
And we talked about this form. Apparently, there's a whistleblower who came over to the DOJ and said, I've got information to reveal to you. Sat down, it was recorded with the FBI rather, documented, and then nothing was done with that information. So then he turned around, went over to Congress and said, hey, I gave them a bunch of information. They're not doing anything with it. I know there should be a record of our meeting because I was there. It was being documented. So tell them to give you the document so you can see that I did disclose it to them. I did blow the whistle and they didn't do anything about it.
This committee will not pursue witch hunts or string the American people along for years with false promises of evidence that is beyond circumstantial evidence, as Representative Adam Schiff and the Democrats did for years.
I hope that's true.
I trust the whistleblower. A subpoena from this committee is a powerful tool that I do not take lightly. The level of detail provided to Senator Grassley led me to conclude a subpoena was warranted, and I stand by that assessment. I will say this. When Senator Grassley approached me with the information the whistleblower provided, it was because of the information we've learned through this committee's own investigation that indicated to me the whistleblower's allegations are consistent with our independent findings. Those findings are what I called you here today to discuss.
All right, perfect.
The committee has reviewed thousands of bank records from individuals and companies affiliated with the Bidens and their associates. It has received these bank records pursuant to 4 subpoenas I've issued to different banks. These were targeted and specific subpoenas, and each was different based on the information we believe the banks possessed. Every one of those subpoenas returned valuable information that had been unreported and that contributed to this committee's understanding of how the Bidens conducted their businesses. The committee is concerned by the complicated, suspicious network of over 20 companies we have identified the Bidens and their associates used to enrich themselves.
What are all of those companies
Most of these
for?
companies were limited liability companies formed during Joe Biden's vice presidency. The bank records show the Biden family, their associates, and their companies received over $10 million from foreign nationals and their companies.
That's a lot of
Some of
crap.
that money came from a Chinese company and went to Hunter Biden's company. Other transfers occurred with the help of Rob Walker, who then sent it on to different Biden family members. This is not how lawful businesses operate. Chinese nationals affiliated with the Bidens created limited liability companies in the United States, and then in a short period of time transferred their interest to a Chinese company that sent money to the Bidens.
Yeah, we have talked about this one many times. This has already been uncovered. I think this evidence was already out there. It's good that they're confirming this, but we knew a lot of these relationships were going on. This was the deal in the Congo where the Chinese and a Hunter Biden LLC went in on it. One entity couldn't own own something like 80% of all of the mining rights. And so Congo said, all right, we're going to keep 20. China, you get 40. Hunter, you get 40. And so they said, okay, great. Nobody has a majority share. Hunter, you don't have a majority. China, you don't have a majority. They did the deal. Then Hunter exited out immediately, sold China his 40%. China gave him a kickback, and the whole thing was a giant scam. All of it being done under the umbrella of Daddy Vice President.
This is not normal. Hunter Biden and his associates hoarded business in countries that correlated directly with Joe Biden's work as vice president. This is also not normal. It is not ethical. And this is why we need legislative solutions. Our purpose here is to provide legislative solutions to prevent this unethical behavior from ever happening again. This investigation is about investigating allegations of corruption and fraud at the highest levels
Joe Biden.
of the federal government. This should be a bipartisan issue. This committee is considering legislation that would ensure these sorts of business practices do not continue for Democrats or Republicans. Specifically, the committee is crafting legislative solutions aimed at deficiencies it has identified in ethics laws and disclosure laws for immediate family members of Vice President and the President. These deficiencies potentially place American national security and American interest at risk. Additionally, they're considering legislation that would strengthen reporting requirements related to certain foreign transactions involving senior elected officials' family members. Finally, the committee is evaluating the Bank Secrecy Act and anti-money laundering laws to determine whether financial institutions have the available tools and support from federal agencies to thwart illegal money laundering and foreign corruption activity.
Let's pause here for a moment. Congress is talking about now legislative efforts, things that they can do to stop this from happening again, because they're Congress. They can't actually open up a criminal prosecution of Hunter Biden or Joe Biden. That has to be done by the DOJ, the Department of Justice, by the executive branch. Congress can inquire and they can pass legislation and they can move money around, but by design, we have a system of checks and balances. We have one system, the legislative branch, that makes the law, and another branch that enforces the law. That is the executive branch. And so enforcement has to come from the executive branch. There's a big problem with that when the leader of the executive branch is the person who is the subject of the accusations, in this case, using the office to exploit the office for your own personal gain. So what do? Congress really has no choice but to make this about legislative reform, even if that's not exactly true, right? They might ultimately pass legislative reform, and that would be great to stop this from happening again. But the big purpose of this is to expose this, is to lay it all out for us to see, so that the American people will demand the DOJ do something about it, hoping that maybe at some point they will.
As I said, I'm very pleased with the progress the committee is making in this investigation. However, due to the information we're releasing today and further developments the committee is aware of, the investigation will enter a new phase now that is armed with information obtained in the bank records. I will soon issue a new round of subpoenas to banks for specific targeted information.
All right.
I will also provide one more opportunity for certain Biden associates, including his art gallerist and Rob Walker, to cooperate willingly with this investigation. Finally, I'm publicly releasing the second.
We want to know who bought those paintings and how much they bought those paintings for and where that money went.
Bank accounts memorandum to the American people so they can see for themselves the activities the Biden family is engaged in, despite the president's statement to the contrary. I want to thank the people and financial institutions that have cooperated with this investigation so far. I also want to encourage more people to come forward and let them know that their information will be kept private and confidential. To my Democrat colleagues, I want to say that this investigation will continue to move forward. Do you want to continue covering up the Biden's influence peddling schemes when the evidence is being placed right in front of you? With or without Democrat support, we will continue working to deliver the answers, transparency, and accountability that the American people deserve.
Right on.
I now turn to Andy Biggs, who will provide some information.
Andy Biggs from Arizona, making his way to the podium.
Thank you, Chairman Comer. We appreciate your leadership on this very, very significant issue to the direction of this country, and we appreciate your leadership and appreciate my colleagues who are here today, and also the great staff that has done such incredible work on behalf of this committee in reviewing these records and helping us to obtain them. Thank you. And thank you to those of you who are here from the media today. So when we talk about the Biden family and associates, I think it's important for the American people to understand what we mean when we're talking about these associates. What are we really getting at?
Who are they?
First, they use them as vehicles to move money directly into Biden family accounts. Why is that?
So
it's because
Biden
they were
doesn't get
looking to
implicated.
obfuscate and hide where the money was coming from. For example, the Bidens used their associate Rob Walker to bring in millions of dollars from China and Romania. Walker's limited liability company Robinson Walker LLC paid Hunter, James, Hallie, and others in the Biden network more than $2 million
Whoa.
after foreign money hit his account. account.
Whoa, what for?
1/3 to the Bidens. That was the pattern. For example, on March 1st, 2017, only 2 months after Joe Biden left office, Robinson Walker received a $3 million wire
For what?
from State Energy HK Limited, a Chinese entity. The next day, 1/3 of that money, $1,065,000, went to the bank account in Abu Dhabi of the company EEIG, which was controlled by James Gilliam, another Biden associate.
Yeah, so they've got
Over the next 3
associates.
months, Robinson Walker LLC sent 16 incremental payments to over 5 different Biden accounts totaling $1,065,692. This included payments to James Biden, who received 5 wires and over $50,000, who did no discernible work to earn that money. 1/3 to Gilliar, 1/3 to the Bidens. What was State Energy HK Limited? That is a second class of Biden associates, the people from whom the Bidens conducted business. State Energy HK Limited was a company controlled by Yi Jianming. Yi was a Chinese billionaire who was reportedly the former Deputy Secretary Counsel for an international outreach arm for the People's Liberation Army. It's called the China Association for International Friendly Contact. According to a U.S. agency, that organization is a platform for deploying undercover intelligence gatherers.
Nice.
Chairman Yi started an energy company called CEFC.
Yeah, we talked about that
China.
one here. Marco Polo's got
He
this
explained
one.
in a speech to the committee that the committee has obtained and translated into English that CEFC China's vision is very simple. It is to obtain overseas resources and serve the national strategy.
Like in the Congo.
Not U.S. national strategy, Chinese national strategy. And Chinese national strategy is Chinese Communist Party's strategy. Yi was close to Chinese President Xi Jinping and welcomed at least one foreign president to Beijing with Xi. The DOJ has referenced Yi and CEFC in a scheme bribing African leaders. The other Chinese national I'll mention now is Gong Wendong, who did work for Yi in America. When Yi needed to do business in America, he often looked to Gong Wendong. The amount of money Yi was sending to Gong Wendong was staggering. From June through August of 2017 alone, Yi transferred to Gong Wendong in America more than $130 million.
Whoa!
Yi met with Hunter Biden in February 2017 and gave him a diamond reportedly worth tens of thousands of dollars as a gift. In August of 2017, Yi, through Gong Wendong, opened up a business with Hunter and James Biden called Hudson West 3, based here in Washington.
The third
DC.
one?
And Hunter wanted to get Joe Biden's keys to the office, and they could all share office space together.
Isn't that
according
nice?
to an email verified by the Washington Post.
Hanging out with Dad.
But things didn't go as planned because the Chinese detained Yi in March of 2018 for fraud. In an email to Gong Wendong and another associate, Hunter tried to explain away the last year of doing business together. This is an email that has also been verified by the Washington Post. Hunter wrote, and I quote, "I am not in a joint venture with CEFC. I'm not partners with CEFC, and I'm not employed nor funded by CEFC," close quote. But Hunter was funded by CEFC, as Ms. Mace will explain. "I'm extremely concerned about the president's connections to these individuals he was supposedly meant to share office space with, and is denied knowing anything about these transactions and these business dealings, and also is denied receiving any money for himself or his family
Repeated.
from Chinese connections."
He's repeatedly
That
said
has
that.
been proven to be a lie. And I'll yield back, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Ms. Mace.
Thank you, Chairman Comer, for your leadership. In less than 100 days of subpoena power, this has been one of the most in-depth investigations the House Oversight Committee has ever had in recent history. And I would hope that the media here today would put as much attention and interest and focus on this as they have a former president. For years, the left has said,
No, we've got Santos now. Sorry, Miss Mace.
no one is above the law. Well, put your money where your mouth is and prove that, because the American people do not trust the federal government. They don't trust Congress.
That's
They don't
true.
even trust current presidents because of the kind of possible and alleged corruption that we see at every level of government, and no one is ever held to account. I try to call the balls and strikes regardless of whether or not you have an R or a D by your name. I've been accused, all of us have been, over this particular issue that we're conspiracy theorists. We're not. What we're proving to you today is showing you actual bank records, actual evidence of shell companies and businesses. There are more businesses and more Bidens involved than we knew of. You have to issue more subpoenas because every time we turn over a rock, there's more information. There's more possible corruption. There's more possible allegations that need to be investigated.
We're going to go through the memo in a minute.
This is what we know today. Money flowed from the Chinese Communist Party, aligned with individuals into American shell companies, and then that money was wired and transferred to Biden family members. This could be the most corrupt scheme in American politics, where a sitting vice president, where we saw members of his family, 9 members so far, there may be more, that were
9.
enriched from countries all over the world.
For
And
what?
we're providing more information information about Romania today. We know about China.
What were
we
they
know that
doing?
the president denied this during an election in 2020, continues to deny it to this day. And we want everyone held accountable if they have violated their oath of office. We shouldn't have folks that are in office that are betraying their oath of office. We shouldn't have people in office that are betraying their country. If they're paying loads of cash to their family members from adversaries of ours around the world, it's wrong, whether you have a Republican or a Democrat by your name. We saw evidence of intentionally taking steps to hide the sources of money coming directly from China through a series of financial gymnastics. Joe Biden's political career was winding down at the time, and this was one of the Biden family's last chances to cash in on the name.
They got
We
it.
have evidence of Chairman
Feeding
Yi
frenzy.
Jinping, who is believed to be affiliated with Chinese Communist Party intelligence organizations and has even been accused of gathering intel for Communist China. Yi started CEFC in China. His agent in America, Gong Wendong, which Andy Biggs mentioned earlier, formed CEFC Infrastructure Investment US on May 11th, 2017. May 18th of 2017, Dong used one of his Chinese companies, Shang Huaxin, to fund CEFC infrastructure in an attempt to hide the source of the money. And you
Right.
see this pattern repeated over and
Shell
over and
LLCs.
over again. On June 30th, 2017, Shanghai Huaxin sent $10 million from China to CEFC infrastructure. Then in August 4th, 2017, CEFC infrastructure wired $100,000 directly to Hunter Biden's own corporation, Owasco PC. Hunter's Owasco also received $500,000 from another entity affiliated with Yi, State Energy HK Limited. State Energy HK appears to be part of Yi's personal slush fund to potentially commit bribery and launder money. The Chinese Communist Party affiliated entities may have bought influence with the Bidens that they couldn't get otherwise, and obviously for good reason. These alleged layering schemes are repetitive. They knew what they were doing, they knew how to do it, and they did it multiple times all over the world. If it looks complicated and sounds complicated, it was intentionally made to be complicated so you could not follow the money. And what we're trying to do today is show you how to follow the money.
We'll
The
go
Committee
through it.
of Oversight, we need to pursue the Chinese relationship with the Serbian politician Vuk Jeremic, who first attempted to introduce Yi to the Bidens in 2015. From August 2015 to June of 2016, State Energy HK paid Jeremic's company $3 million.
Nice.
When Jeremic ran for UN Security General, who did he turn to? It appears he turned to Hunter Biden. On June 16th, 2016, Jeremic wrote to Hunter asking if he could meet with the Vice President's National Security Advisor, Colin Kahl, related to the elections for UN Security General. The meeting appears to have happened because on July 2nd, 2016, Jeremic informed Hunter that my meeting, quote, with Colin did not last very long, but it didn't go too bad, I think. What is suboptimal is that the Office of the Vice President seems to be outside the decision-making loop on the UN Security General elections issue. These people didn't come to Hunter Biden because he understood world politics or that he was experienced in it or that he understood Chinese businesses. They wanted him for the access his last name gave them.
Daddy
Access to the
VP.
Chinese Communist Party they couldn't otherwise get. In March of 2017, the same Chinese company that sent $3 million to Vuk Jeremic sent $3 million to one of Biden's associates, who siphoned off 30%. As Andy Biggs mentioned, we see that repeated over and over again. Siphoned off 30% or $1 million to Hunter Biden, James Biden, Hallie Biden, why she would
Why
need that,
Hallie?
and an unknown Biden bank account.
What?
The committee has written to Vuk Jeremic and Rob Walker, but they have both
what?
refused to cooperate with the Oversight Committee. The Biden family needs to answer for this, and the DOJ needs to get off its ass and investigate.
Yeah,
We've
baby.
done the work for them so they can't screw it up now. If these
You hear that, Merrick Garland? Get off your ass.
any of these allegations are proven true, then someone with the last name Biden needs to be charged, prosecuted, maybe spend a little time in prison to take to account and responsible for the actions they've taken today. Also, as mentioned by the chairman, I want to thank you. The legislative priorities we have of our committee, this is not a witch hunt. This is not a conspiracy theory. If there are anti-corruption laws that need to be made stronger, we will also do that. And I appreciate your time today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Nice.
Representative Armstrong.
Nancy Mace. Coming in hot. All right, we're going to fast forward over to, we're going to go over to Byron Donalds, and then we'll wrap up with Jim Jordan, and then we'll hop into the memo.
Next we have.
Thank you, Chairman. Thanks for being here, everybody. Look, a couple things. First, what we're seeing here, what we're witnessing with the Biden family, frankly, is just a web of concealment, of deception. A lot of people would say corruption. But let's be very clear. You have this many companies involved, this velocity of transactions, size of transactions. Like my colleagues have said, this is not how normal business businesses operate. I had the ability with Chairman Comer and other members of the committee to go over to the Treasury building and review documents. And having read those documents, one thing became pretty crystal clear, that there were many people who had serious questions about the transactions and about the velocity of these transactions, and they either get very, very deep into concealment, hiding money, shifting money, and for the purpose, we don't know, because one thing everybody in this room and the American people definitely know is that the Biden family doesn't really have a business.
Right.
There is no business structure around this family.
What do they do?
Except politics. And since Joe Biden has spent decades in the Senate, served 8 years as vice president, and is now president of the United States, and the family's getting money from various countries and foreign businesses through various shell companies and this web of LLCs. I mean, guys, you in the press, this is easy pickings. I'm giving you Pulitzer stuff here.
Yeah.
Like, all you have to do is literally look at our memo and see the level of detail upon which they have created this. And it's very, very frustrating. We have now been able to clearly see that the Biden's associates, like Rob Walker, Eric Sherman, has been discussed, created at least 16 companies while Joe Biden was vice president of the United States. 16 companies created while he was vice president. Now the list is 20, and as we continue our investigation, that list is growing. And like I said before, the question is to serve what purpose?
Right.
And the purpose of all these companies being created is to conceal money that the Biden family has been gaining because Joe Biden has been sitting at the upper echelon of our politics for almost 5 decades. That is the entire purpose here. Here's an example of what I mean. You have Rosemont Seneca Partners, Rosemont Seneca Advisors, Rosemont Seneca Technology Partners, RSP Holdings, RSTP2 Alpha, RSTP2 Bravo, Rosemont Seneca Thornton, Rosemont Seneca Bohai. I want to make sure I pronounce it right. Bohai, Bohai.
All permutations.
And the list goes on and on. Cycling through this many companies serves no legitimate purpose.
They're just shells. They just needed to move things around and layer things with different owners and different setups, so you couldn't really track what was going where. And you open up bank accounts and you move things around and you send it to this address and move it to that address. And it's hard to track it all. Now, it's okay if you want to start 20 companies in a year. A lot of people will do that, but they'll hire people and they will have different operations. They'll put a different website up. They'll have a use for it. They're not just going to create it with a bunch of different names. It's like these guys just put a bunch of names in a hat and drew a couple out. All right, pick 3. Hunty, Biden, Poo-Poo Head. Okay, that's company 2. Hunty, and you just draw them out of the head. And you have no idea what comes out. They just made them because that's the only purpose was concealment.
And as somebody who actually worked in banking, I did that long before I came here. Whenever there was like this many companies just laying all over the place, and you see wire transfers, cashier checks over here, going to random members of the family for no apparent purpose, at the size and velocity at which all of this was being conducted, the only logical conclusion of a financial professional is you are concealing money. Let me restate this. You are concealing money from either the IRS or from credit agencies or from other people in general. That's the only reason you set up a structure like this. Some of these companies were connected to Hunter's personal professional company, Oswego, or Skinny Atlas, Scale Atlas, however you want to pronounce it. And the list goes on. And Mr. Biggs, he talked about Hudson West 3 and some of those other issues that were going on as well. One thing I want to make sure is that all of this has happened and Joe Biden is aware. Nobody in this room can logically sit here and say that the president of the United States had no idea that these companies were being formed while he was vice president of the United States.
Yeah, and he didn't have dementia back then, mostly.
I will add you, he was probably in better mental shape than he is today.
See?
You know, I'll throw that out there. And so what this committee is going to continue to do is pursue this investigation. We are going to continue to document, and we're going to provide that information to all of you in the press. So to help you, and frankly, you know, like Congresswoman May said, and probably help the DOJ along with their investigation. One quick note, it's interesting that the Department of Justice has been investigating Hunter Biden for quite some time, and we seem to just never really get anywhere. And so I think that's also interesting as well. I wonder what's going on at the Department of Justice.
Well, we know they're busy investigating Donald Trump, the insurrectionists, and covering up for Joe Biden by prosecuting Santos.
Being said, the bottom line is there is no real business here. None. And let me also say this, because I know there are many in this room who wanted to go down all the various schemes that our colleagues on the other side of the aisle accused the former president of. Be very clear. The former president actually had a business.
Right.
Very big business. You could say it was his name. You could say it was his buildings.
Hotels.
You could say it was wine. You could say it was branding.
Licensing.
You could say it was The Apprentice. But he had a very big and legitimate business, which everybody in this room clearly knows and understands and can point to
Watch
and say,
the show.
That's the thing. That thing
Been
over
to
there.
a hotel.
Joe Biden has no business.
Nothing.
Except his position in politics.
And Hunter has far less. I mean, he's got finger paints now, but didn't before then.
And it is the requirement
Drug dealing, maybe.
of this committee to investigate that. We're going to continue to do that, and we're going to let the facts speak for themselves. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well done, Byron Donalds. Woo!
Representative Jordan.
Nicely done. Jim Jordan.
Suspicious activity reports. The key word in that phrase is the word suspicious. There are 170 of those reports, many of them put together by the Treasury Department of our government in the Obama-Biden administration. So 170 of those that the committee has reviewed, thousands of pages of bank records the committee has reviewed, and that has told us that there are now multiple, as Mr. Donalds just said, multiple LLCs receiving money from foreign entities and paying that money out to multiple members of the Biden family.
For what reason?
And the fundamental question is the one Byron just raised. For what?
No idea.
What did they do? What was the business? What service did they provide? What value did they add? What did they do to warrant receipt of the money? That is the fundamental question, and no one seems to have an answer to that fundamental question.
Biden insight. Hunter Biden's the smartest man Joe Biden knows. He knows about energy policy. He's like Elon Musk without the rocket ships and Tesla. You bring him into a country, you're like, Hunter, we have a question about how to get more energy into our country in Ukraine. He's like, I know just the solution. I need $83,000 a month to do it. They said, okay, I guess you're going to fix everything. I guess that. Consulting fees?
But Mr. Comer, Chairman Comer and the team, that's what we're looking into, trying to get. And I would just say this too. Why not just come clean? Why not just be honest with us? Why not tell us the truth? But I would tell you this. I think
because they'll get impeached and they'll probably go to jail. I mean, that's why.
It's a pattern with this administration. They haven't been square with us, straight with the American people about anything. They tell us the border is secure. We know it isn't. They tell us our debt ceiling bill is going to hurt veterans. No, it doesn't. Joe Biden said during the campaign that the letter from 51 former Intel officials, when he used it in the debate, he portrayed it as if it was organic. And we now know through another investigation that we're all working on that, in fact, it was coordinated. That letter from 51 former Intel officials was coordinated with the Biden campaign. So much so, the Biden campaign told Mike Morrell, here's the journalist we want you to have the story to, the letter to first.
Anthony Blinken, who's the current Secretary of State right now, earned his job, earned his position by being Biden's good little lapdog, took this idea over to former CIA Director Michael Morrell, told him, create this little scheme, draft the letter. He sent it over to John Brennan and 49 other non-intelligent people who signed the letter, and they did it based on Mike Morrell's statement that they wanted to give Joe Biden a talking point for the debate. And Joe Biden used the talking point, even though the whole thing was illegitimate.
Why not just be straight with us? Why not come clean?
Because they're
liars,
liars,
Why not tell
Jim.
us the truth?
They're
tell
liars.
the American people the truth. They deserve that from their government.
But
again, the fundamental question is,
they're not going to get
what
it.
did they do to warrant the receipt of millions and millions of dollars? Why did Joe Biden's brother, why did Joe Biden's sister-in-law, why did Joe Biden's son, why did so many family members get the money? What did they do to warrant receipt of that money? That's the fundamental question. Chairman Comer and the team have done great work, and they're determined to get answers to those fundamental questions.
Well done. So that is Jim Jordan. Let's see how Comer closes it out.
I want to thank the committee. I want to thank the staff for all the time pouring through these documents. Now we would like to entertain questions, and I want to begin with the fourth largest newspaper in the state,
New York
who
Post?
I read somewhere was banned from the White House.
New York
but
Post?
We'll start with the New York Post.
Nice.
You're always welcome here.
I'd like to ask you two questions. First, about the investigative next steps, and secondly, about the FBI informant file that you're seeking. Regarding next steps, you produced a significant amount of information so far about foreign income to the president's family. No doubt there's going to be more to come.
Question is about next steps and the FBI informant.
The central thesis that President Biden was directly involved with corruption without getting bank records for either President Biden, James Biden, Hunter Biden, showing the transfer of money or the payments of expenses that President Biden should have picked up himself.
Is Joe Biden the president implicated?
Informant file pertains
Well, first of all, with respect to President Biden, I don't think anyone in America who's watching C-SPAN or any other network that's covering this would think that it's just a coincidence that 9 Biden family members have received money for this influence peddling scheme. I mean,
from
what
foreign
is
entities.
Representative Jordan and the other speakers said, what business is there? You know, the media has always said two things. First of all, the media have said, many in the media have said that no transactions happened while Joe Biden was vice president. We've proven that wrong. Joe Biden said during 2020 that his family never took any money from China. Today we've proven that wrong, and you have it in your memorandum, the bank transfers. So we believe that the president has been involved in this from the very beginning, obviously. We're going to continue to look. There are, what we've cited today and what we're updating you with today, 4 banks. Those result from 4 banks. We believe there are 12 banks. So right now, you could say that we're in the beginning stages of this investigation, but many of you wrote, I read your stories, many of you wrote, not the New York Post, but many of you wrote that we would never get access to bank records because that's what the White House told you. And they said we would never have access to the Treasury because that's what the White House and Jamie Raskin told you. But we have the bank records. We're going to get more bank records. We just got the bank records from going through the associates. We knew there were people that were wiring money, that were accepting the initial payments from our adversaries around the world, and then they were funneling the money to the Bidens through various LLCs. So we got the bank records through the back door. And we can tell you from the people that we're meeting with that were involved with many of the schemes that we're pretty confident that the president was very knowledgeable
of everything going on. And so let's jump over and take a look at the documents that we've been discussing. The memo comes from the House of Representatives Committee on Oversight and Accountability, dated on May 10th, regarding the second bank records memo and the investigation into the Biden family's influence peddling schemes. The purpose of this is to inform the majority members of everything that's happening here. There was a prior memo that came out in March. The second memo expands on information that they got from recently returned subpoenas. The committee has subpoenaed 4 different banks, received thousands of records in response. The bank subpoenas were tailored to specific individuals and companies and activities, specifically with Biden family members and their associates. We're going to continue to update you with more information. But here is the summary. From the Oversight Committee, they tell us there's a lack of transparency in the Biden family. When he ran as a candidate, he said that he received no money from China. But that is not true. The White House refuses to correct the records. They'll stand by that lie. The committee has reviewed thousands of bank records via subpoena. They tell us that the Biden family and their associates created a web of over 20 companies. Most were LLCs formed during the vice presidency. And so if we had an actual media, if we had an actual DOJ, they would go and investigate each one of those 20 companies. Literally, they would pull them open. What were they formed? Why were they created? Did they have websites? Were they set up appropriately? What were they doing there? And as we know, there probably is no real basis for it other than transacting money. And Comer and the Oversight Committee got their hands on that. Biden got over $10 million from foreign national companies. They identified payments to the Biden family members during the time Joe was VP. They used business associates companies to receive the funds in the amount of millions of dollars, and they were concealing large financial transactions along the way. Chinese nationals also hid the source of the money. Significant ties to the Chinese Communist Party, and the number of Biden family members is large. Now, this is a little bit more detail about the second batch. They're telling us in this section, this is a big document, so we're going to go fast. But Americans deserve legislative solutions, right? And we've already heard them talk about a lot of this. This is the justification for why Congress is doing this. If Congress just said we're only doing this for the purpose of prosecuting Joe, then that would be inappropriate. Congress would not have the jurisdiction, the authority to do that. But if they're contemplating legislation, then this report is all now legitimate. They tell us that Biden has been misleading us about his foreign business dealings. As a nominee, he said, my son has not made money in terms of this thing. You know, what are you talking about, China? Says, I have not had, the only guy who made money from China is Donald Trump. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China. It's not true. Biden's bank records prove otherwise. In 2017, Biden and his family received millions of dollars from the Chinese foreign national companies. This amount doesn't include money from Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Mexico, Romania, Oman, or other foreign business deals. It also does not include any payments that went over to Hunter and BHR partners. In March of this year, committee issued a subpoena, and in response, Biden said that's not true when asked about being paid $1 million. Evidence shows that's not accurate. Biden has denied the existence of this evidence, but the committee has included redacted copies of bank records in this memo. Let's see what else we have here. Do we have some charts? Oh, look at this. Oh, look at this. We got charts. We've got photos. Oh, yes. We've got redacted. Looks like transaction records. We have more charts. Oh, we're liking where this is going. So as we continue on, they tell us that they are contemplating getting the records, and they're investigating the entire network. The Bidens have identified or worked with 20 companies affiliated with them, and the services remain under scrutiny. Assuming the vice presidency in 2009, records revealed that Hunter and his business associates formed 15 companies. All of these are the companies: Lion Hall, Owasco, Robinson Walker, Scantinelli's, all of these, right? Rosemont Seneca, Seneca Global, Rosemont Realty, Rosemont Seneca Bohai, Rosemont Seneca Advisors, Rosemont Seneca Thornton, CEFC, and all of them. Bank records prove that Biden family members and their associates received millions. The committee is focusing on several entities that got money from foreign companies. This includes these, Hudson West and others, including Rosemont Seneca. The amount of money is significant. Wires and money transfers range from approximately $5,000 all the way up to $3 million. Any services provided for these fees would likely have corresponding invoices, wouldn't they? And the companies may also maintain books and records detailing the use of the funds. The parties should have contracts and agreements, but they don't. They'll say the committee intends to obtain those materials if they exist as part of its investigation. We've got Romanian transactions in here. The committee is releasing redacted bank records regarding the Biden's family presence in Romania. We know about this payment system. We hear about Rob Walker and James Gilliar and then Biden family. So it sounds like we've got two individuals who are often in the transactions. Rob Walker established one LLC, and Biden family members received over $2 million in payments through this guy. He was a vehicle. They would receive foreign funds and send a percentage of the money to Biden family members. One example, Robinson Walker got $3 million. Over the course of 3 months, he then transferred approximately 1/3 of that to Biden family members. So they walked away with $1 million, bringing the total to over $2 million. Hunter Biden, this looks like it's a document from a proposal. What did Hunter Biden do to earn any of this money? Well, he was key in relationship setup, messaging the goodwill around the chairman and the non-conflict status of the entry. He was acting as a bridge between two great nations. He was also writing to all the parties, organizing the meetings, promoting the organization, and approving the strategic and operational elements. Wow, that's what Hunter did. It's probably worth like $1 million at least. Head of the international operation was James Gilliar. He got support, and so he was paid to qualify and endorse the chairman. Hallie Biden got $25,000 for some reason. No context around that money, why that money got sent over there. Hallie Biden received 2 transfers of money, and they also got $3 million from Romanian Gabriel Popovich Cypriot company. A lot of money. So this is detailing all of the transactions. Let's fast forward and see if we can see some other documents. Here is a record from November 5th, 2015, $180,000 into the bank account. Blade On Enterprises. You see it's all redacted. US dollar amount, 180 grand. Walker, after that amount, then transferred 60 grand to his personal account. Then he wired the same amount over to Hunter Biden. So it goes from some company called Blade On to Walker. Walker then transfers it into his personal account. Then it goes from the personal account over into Hunty's account. And they follow the whole transaction along the way. Wire transfer out, $59,900. What for? Don't know. But it was repeated many, many times. You can follow the transaction here. Here's transaction number 2. Same pattern, 60,000 bucks transferred. And here's transaction number 3, 172,000 bucks transferred. Now this one got transferred over to Hallie Biden for 10 grand. And the list goes on and on. Blade On goes to Robert Walker. Robert Walker sends the money over to Hunty. And he's just splitting it up as they go along. You see all the transactions are there. In total, Biden bank accounts received $1 million, $38,627.08. The committee is releasing bank records to provide an update on this. They tell us about other partners with connections to the CCP. Yi Jianming, he reported to the PLC. This photograph shows President Xi and others. They say that this organization, the CEFC, was used to bribe and corruptly influence officials. Gongwang Dong is also listed in this. Same thing is happening here. Dong made headlines. He purchased a $50 million home in Central Park. Bank records indicated he transferred over $130 million to entities as controlled below. But then Dong and Hunter established a company called Hudson West. They each owned 50% of this new company. And over time, records show that between August 2017 and October 2018, Hudson West sent over $4 million to Hunter Biden related companies and $75,000 to James Biden related companies. Millions and millions. Yi Jianming was apprehended by Chinese authorities. Hunter knew his relationship was problematic. He tried to distance himself. He said, "We're not funded by these people." We've got some more records showing up here, showing that they're members of the same organization. They got a $10 million injection from China, from the Shanghai Wakin Group out of Hong Kong. Here's another $100,000 transaction wired over. Hunter Biden's professional corporation got that transaction from China. This transaction, showing that this landed in Hunter's bank account for 100 grand, disproves Biden's claim that his family got no money from China. It's right there. Furthermore, the corporate records obtained via subpoena show how Dong, Hunter's Chinese business partner, attempted to hide the money by layering LLCs formed in Delaware. Where's Joe Biden from? Oh yeah, Delaware. Here's the plan to hide the payments. Step 1, CEFC creates the infrastructure with Hunter. Hudson West is the sole member. Then Hudson West is removed as the sole member, and they add in another group called the Watson Group. Then the Watson Group sends the infrastructure group, CEFC, $10 million, and then they make the payment over to Owasco, which is the Hunter company. So it's just following the bouncing ball all the way until it lends into Hunter's piggy bank. There's Energy Group's $3 million payments to Robinson Walker, which was also dispersed to different Biden accounts. You see all of these different disbursements. The timing of the diamond purchase is questionable. He sent a large diamond to Hunter Biden in Miami, 2.8 carats, estimated to be worth $80,000. Hunter claims he gave the diamond to an unnamed associate, just gave it away. $80,000 diamond. Crack makes you do things that are whack. State Energy HK made billions of dollars in payments as well. A lot of money being transacted here. The wire payment, this one is a $3 million one. This one goes to James Gilliar. Wire transfers are listed below. The beneficiary account. Here's this one. Hallie Biden in 2017 for 25 grand. What's that for? And others are known as Biden. Is that Joe Biden? He's the top Biden. All of these other disbursements. Now, Karine Jean-Pierre and President Biden have publicly denied this evidence. They just say it's seed funds. There's another payment to an unknown Biden. We don't know what Biden account this is. 25 grand. Where'd that one go? Here's another one. 25 grand. Here's another one. 300 grand. Another $125,000. Here is the entire scheme. China makes payments to the Biden family accordingly. China sends it to Chairman Ye. He has an entity called State Energy HK. Also has this guy running Hudson West, Gong Weng Dong. Guang creates CEFC and Hudson West 2. Those entities create other LLCs that Hunter's a part of, called Owasco LLC, and LLC here. So do you see these layers of division? So really Hunter's kind of over here, right? Hunter Biden is like on this end here. These are other LLCs. So so China's over here, one step removed. You've got this guy. He doesn't want to be involved. He creates another layer. This is called Hudson West. All right. That's another company. That's run by Gongwen. Then he creates, that company creates other companies that they've got ownership interest in. Hudson West 3, CEFC. And then another entity or other entities are created called Owasco and Scantala. So many layers, and then you get to Hunter Biden. So you see it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layers removed to keep him away. Now the same thing happens with James and Sarah. They've got the same layers, multiple layers, and they have their own LLCs or incorporations. JBB Sr. Incorporated. Probably James B. Biden Sr. He's got a corporation. He's got a Lion Hall Group. He's got other LLCs. Hallie Biden, don't know what she's involved in, but you've got Chairman Ye. You see, he's doing the same thing. Just like Hunter and his pals had multiple layers of LLCs to hide them. So they're doing the same thing. So this chart, you know, if Hunter's here, let's say Hunter is like right here. Hunter's got LLC 1, 2, 3. Those LLCs are going to have 1, 2, 3, and same thing going on here. And you're just layering all of these things on so that nobody can really connect the dots. Who the hell is doing what? Where's the money going? What's happening? Chairman Ye is doing that. So he's not putting all his eggs in the Gong Wang Dong basket. He's also got State Energy H&K. Somebody over there gave the diamond over to Hunter because ultimately Hunty is working for this guy, right? He's working, he's doing the bidding of the Chinese, but he's so far removed, all of these layers are separating him out. This one is another layer. Think of it like little force fields. Literally, like you are shielded from liability. It's limited liability company. You've got protections. They're literal force fields. Robinson Walker is now protecting Hallie Biden and Vuk Jeremic, Center for International Relations and Sustainable Development. You know, I don't even know what these entities are. But who is this unknown Biden? Who is this person? We don't know who this person is. Could that be Joe? Don't know. But you can see how many layers there are. They've got concrete evidence of the following. They say there is clear indicia of a scheme. The Biden family have been coordinating with Chinese nationals, including Chairman Ye. The committee is going to be gathering additional bank records in the very near future. We're rooting out fraud, waste, and abuse at the highest level in the federal government. They've issued letters for documents, for transcribed interviews. They're going to continue to engage. And those who have not cooperated with our process, we'll see what they do about it. Committee will continue to engage with those who have not worked with them. But he is sounding like there will be additional subpoenas going out to a whole slew of additional banks. And we've got questions about who that missing Biden person was and whether it is the president.